mp3 presents Testatica. It shows the life and achievements of the spiritual community Methernitha as a whole, and in particular its research work in the area of free energy. This is the machine called Testatica, an apparatus which allows to make use of the so-called free energy. The Testatica is a development of the spiritual community Methernitha, which is a cooperative in Linden, officially established under this name since 1960. Ever since the foundation of Methernitha, there existed a department for research, development and electronics, which was concerned with the problem of alternative energy sources, namely with technologies which were suited to exploit the inherent forces of nature and thus to unlock sources of energy for the benefit of mankind without disturbing nature's ecological balance in any negative way. Any technology man invents should serve him in short as well as in long terms, and this condition is not fulfilled as soon as it opposes nature in any way. This team of researchers within Methernitha works completely autonomous and is financed out of the cooperative's own sources, without any outside support. The efficient utilization of wind energy was one of the first objectives of Methernitha's research program. At the beginning, generators with special excitation were developed, which allowed to load the cells of accumulators even at low RPM, at times when there are only moderate air movements. Utilizing the kinetic energy of water currents was another field of interest of the development team, but it was pursued more as hobby. The key problem was here to transfer the slow revolutions of the water wheel to an extent that the excitation threshold of the generator could be surpassed by a minimal loss of energy. Also, solar cells and solar heat collectors attracted the attention of our researchers since a long time. But since in these fields other institutions have attained outstanding results, Methernitha started, and this was already more than 20 years ago, to concentrate its efforts on lesser known and even generally unknown sources of energy. The result of this scientific work is the Testatica machine, of which most of you may have heard already. The question arises how it comes that Methernitha, nothing more than a private organization, could invest so much time, engagement, perseverance, and also financial resources in this kind of research. Research and development are integrated parts of the general idealistic concept of Methernitha. In order to make you understand these ideals and goals, we will now introduce you into the practical sides of this spiritual community Methernitha, as it functions as a cooperative of people living and working together. Linden is a calm village of farmers, just like dozens of others in the region of the valley called Emmental. However, Linden is also the home of a special form of human life, which is capable of attracting more and more people from all over the globe, and which has again and again caused astonishment through its excellent functioning, even in extremely difficult situations. There is no doubt that the formation of Methernitha is also a good part of the life story of Paul Baumann. Through his extraordinary technical capabilities, but also through his astonishing practical wisdom, he opened relations to all kinds of people with ideals and in many places, and pretty soon the idea to form a cooperative enterprise took shape. In the name of the God Almighty, people of equal thinking gathered and founded a cooperative which could serve as the economic basis of this spiritual community. We want to be a united group of brothers and never separate, however severe the burden may be. This was the solemn vow. Renunciation of alcohol and smoking, and the will to realize a harmonious community life without dispute and discord, like in the original Christian communities, were the prerequisites to become a member. For the members, Methernitha is an ideal opportunity to lead a fulfilled life by practicing charity. A workshop was erected. And soon, one house after the other grew on this premises. Also, all construction was done out of own resources and solely with the savings from the common work. Today, Methernitha is an enterprise with several production companies and properties worth millions. The people working here are almost without exception members of Methernitha. Not even the prospering development which took place over the following decades could impair or even suppress the global idealistic aims. On the contrary, everybody works in his own interest with diligence and great joy towards the erection and the support of their new homeland, and according to the principle one for all and all for one. With this word one can conquer anything. Also the ancient truths appear again and attain respect. The people living here feel themselves as members of a family, a group sitting in the same boat and proud but also grateful proprietors of their own beautiful homeland, which they may shape exactly as they wish to. Evidently, this form of human social life can function only on the base of idealistic principles. The question arises how the realization of a sincere religious philosophy of life may be brought in harmony with a successful economic management. It is not obvious at all that this is attainable. Nowadays, there are many amongst us which are caught in the worldwide and dense network of social and economic dependencies and obligations, and many also feel the confrontation with its problems. One member of the Economic Directory has recently phrased this in the following way. The fact that all essential functions of Methernitha are fulfilled without any external force, driven solely through inner conviction, which causes everybody to help and take care of the other. This is for me the most astonishing effect which is produced by this form of living together. It seems to be a miracle. Another miracle within Methernitha is the Testatica, which is the result of more than 20 years of research and contains the secret of the secrets. Here you can see the members of the research team which took part in this development. One of them is Paul Baumann, who, with his high capabilities and his outstanding knowledge about the acting laws of nature, but also through his high sensitivity, has contributed very much to this invention. This wonder machine is lurked from nature, nothing else. Nature is the greatest source of power as well as knowledge which man has, and it still conceals many secrets which are only revealed to those who approach and tie in with them with highest respect and responsibility. In order to understand nature and to perceive its voice, man is obliged to experience silence and solitude, and it was there where the knowledge about this technology was obtained. For these reasons, it was always a great concern of Methernitha to acquire properties untouched by man as far as possible, be it in valleys or forests, in the mountains or ashore of lakes, where one could study nature, one's own being, and the creator of all this universe in silence and concentration and without being disturbed. The public never understood this properly, rather interpreted it wrongly as an act of seclusion, assuming we had to hide something unclean. We actually had, and still have, to take great troubles to realize undisturbed all the things we intended to accomplish. Whatever we can learn from nature, while being in nature, is of greatest benefit, not only for us, but for everybody. This because all positive expands more and more just in virtue of inner laws. Such undertaking in research and development necessitates considerable financial expenditures. Therefore, we are quite often obliged to construct things with most primitive means and materials. What was thrown away by our affluent society, we collect and possibly set up with it a cornerstone in the discovery of new forces and truths. We were fortunate in gaining the experience that paradoxically the most beautiful and gigantic results can be achieved by just using the most simple means. Never did we use any borrowed capital because we want to stay free Swiss citizens and do not want to be hindered or even bound in any way in the pursuance of our aims. The two counter-rotating disks generate an electrostatic charge. One disk represents the Earth, the other the cloud. Using grid electrodes, the charges are bound. After that, they are collected by non-contacted so-called antenna keys and then sorted. After being initially turned on by hand, the disks rotate by themselves according to the electrostatic laws about attraction and repulsion. A rectifying diode keeps the cycles in steady state, otherwise the impulses of attraction and repulsion would accumulate and cause the disk to run faster and faster. The correct speed is of great importance, and for optimal power generation the disks have to run quite steady and slow. By means of grid condensers, the energy is stored and then uniformly discharged, at the same time reducing the high voltage and building up power with additional devices. Finally, the machine supplies an uniform direct current which varies according to the size of the model. The machine furnishes about 3 to 4 kilowatt permanent output, depending on humidity, whereby the electrical potential ranges from 270 to 320 volt. High humidity of the atmosphere prevents the build-up of electric potential. The drier the air, the better. No doubt, through the so far achieved results, one main objective has been reached, namely to prove that it is possible to use free energy. Nevertheless, the research work is not yet completed. To finish a model which can be handed out more or less to anybody, and without any haphazards, also to non-specialists, much work and also time will still be needed. To the educated physicist, many of things of this machine may seem impossible, maybe even crazy. Maybe he is also offended by the conception used to explain the whole. Only partly we could use the concepts of conventional physical terminology in order to explain and define only approximately the functions and properties of the various parts of the machine. After all, it will be necessary to create some more new concepts, like the one we have already used before, when we termed the non-contacting collectors of electric charges as antenna keys. This machine puts experts who are just trained in conventional physics to a very hard test, because its mode of action is not explainable with the state-of-the-art of officially accepted physical knowledge, or at the most only partially explainable. However, also a trained specialist should remain free and independent in his thinking and should avoid to be limited by the temporal framework of publicly admitted knowledge in any science. It has to be remembered that the established sciences were already many times forced to change or give up some of their very fundamental concepts. Think about Galileo Galilei, in order to name only one example. Our human society almost condemned this man as a sorcerer and magician just because he investigated and discovered a truth which seemed unacceptable by the established science of the days. The book knowledge of any time is not wrong, but it is incomplete and therefore allows to draw wrong conclusions. We are part of a new area which brings to light many new facts and new knowledge. The clothes of nowadays science have become too tight and should be stripped off just like the larva of an insect does with its skin. Only this will allow a true metamorphosis to take its course, and finally, at the limits and at the destination of all worldly knowledge, an universal and unlimited spiritual science, radiating and beautiful, just as the completed imago of an insect may give its blessings and benediction to a renovated humanity. To ever reach there, an universal development of man has to take place, but this is only possible when man becomes aware of his true role within the whole creation, and again learns to recognize his true tasks, because the whole universe functions within a strict and precisely structured order according to the will and word of the Creator. Therefore, also man should recognize and realize these universal laws, which are valid within the whole and also within every part of this creation. but the hard facts rather show how far man has left the divine order through his self-willed and authoritarian way of action, and that he has become the actual cause of all discord and evil on this planet. Unfortunately, the ruling bodies which should be responsible for the well-being of the people work too often with the target to make life more and more difficult and to render impossible every free spiritual development. Instead of utilizing the achievements of science and technology for the benefit and preservation of all forms of life, they are abused carelessly and irresponsibly in order to destroy and to kill, and thus turn them into a curse upon mankind. To change all this, the evolution of a new technology is not enough, even if it were the most ecological and ingenious. To change this present status, one has to go much deeper down, to the root cause of all this evil, and this is man's way of thinking, his state of mind. The ancient divine commandments are still valid today and also show today the way and direction humanity should go, as clearly spoken by the prophet Micah. God has told you what is good. And what is it that the Lord asks of you? Only to act justly, to love loyalty, to walk wisely before your God.